By March 1933, the American economy had entered a terminal freefall. More than 4,000 banks had collapsed, taking 9 million individual savings accounts down with them. Americans responded by hoarding gold in suitcases and pulling their cash out of the system. This mass withdrawal of capital starved the remaining banks and accelerated the pace of the crash. The Hoover administration met this crisis with a failure of national vision, offering no material solutions to the disaster as it unfolded. By the time the administration changed, the Great Depression was a total collapse of public psychology and trust in the American system. Franklin Delano Roosevelt entered the presidency with an unshakable confidence that contrasted with the grim mood of the country. This resilience was forged during his battle with paralyzing polio. Roosevelt believed that after spending 2 years in bed simply trying to wiggle his big toe, any political crisis was solvable. During his inaugural address, Roosevelt called for breaking tradition through a policy of bold, persistent experimentation. This launched the first 100 days, a frantic race to test rapid-fire hypotheses before the nation's capitalist structure failed entirely. Roosevelt's first emergency action was to declare a nationwide bank holiday. He physically halted the banking system to stop the runs while the government surveyed every institution for financial soundness. He then launched a psychological intervention, using the radio to speak directly to 60 million Americans. He convinced them that it was finally safer to redeposit their money than to hide it under a mattress. To permanently secure this trust, Congress passed the Securities Act. This gave the government the power to regulate the stock market and investigate reports of fraud. The Glass-Steagall Act followed, separating commercial banking from stock speculation. It also created the FDIC, a system that provided government insurance for civilian bank deposits. Through this first experiment, the federal government took over the role of guarantor of financial trust, ending the era of state-level banking control. Roosevelt then moved to a more radical lever, pulling the United States off the gold standard. He intended to cause reflation, purposely inflating the currency to aid those in debt. As the supply of money increases, the currency loses some of its value. This makes fixed debts easier to pay, because the money owed is no longer worth as much as it was when the loan was first issued. This same inflationary mechanism caused agricultural prices to rise, providing a lifeline to farmers who were suffering from low prices for their goods. Alongside these currency shifts, the government created the HOLC and the FCA. These agencies moved into the private market to buy up and restructure millions of failing mortgages with lower interest rates. This marked a new jurisdictional boundary. The federal government was now directly manipulating macroeconomic value to save private property. Roosevelt's advisors identified one final variable in the collapse: low consumption. Because millions were unemployed, there was no money entering the economy to drive demand. The administration chose to bypass state governments and create federally managed work programs to put money directly into the hands of the needy. The Civilian Conservation Corps was the primary example, deploying millions of young men to live in forest camps, build reservoirs, and plant trees to prevent another Dust Bowl. Under Harry Hopkins, agencies like the FARA and CWA hired millions of workers in a matter of months. Hopkins dismissed critics of the rapid spending by noting that people don't eat in the long run, they eat every day. Through this rapid-fire legislation, the federal government assumed the role of the nation's employer of last resort. Some experiments, like the NRA's industrial codes, actually caused production to fall and were eventually ruled unconstitutional. The first 100 days replaced the national state of panic with a baseline of hope, even as the broader economic recovery remained ongoing for years. This period marked the end of laissez-faire economics in America, as the federal government established new powers of regulation over banks and the stock market. These 1933 programs established the precedent for modern interventions. Today's SEC continues to regulate Wall Street fraud, while the framework for large-scale bank stabilization was used as recently as the 2008 Emergency Economic Stabilization Act. The FDIC stickers seen on bank windows today is a direct legacy of the legislation passed during Roosevelt's first 3 months in office.